Hello, everybody, and welcome to Music Industry Insights Worldwide, Volume 3. And today we have the amazing Sofia with us. Hi, Sofia, how are you?
I am amazing. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you for asking. And thank you so much for taking the time out to come and speak to us and share some of your story and some of the issues and barriers that underrepresented groups face in the music industry. So
Mm.
this question is, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what you do.
So, as you said, I am Sofia Gillani. I'm a singer-songwriter, born in London, raised, and now I'm currently in Surrey. I've released 8 singles and have a few more coming soon. One called Bleed in September.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah,
that sounds fantastic. And how long have you been doing that for?
well, I've been performing. I mean, for as long as I can remember, but since 9. And then my first single came out around the beginning of 2020.
Okay, so what kind of music is it and what kind of style do you do?
Well, I'm quite experimental, I'd like to say, but I think my main genres are pop and R&B.
Interesting. That sounds really nice. So,
Thank you.
do you have like a musical kind of education, or how did you get into that? So, is it just a passion you do, or tell us a bit more about your background?
Well, I mean, I've grown up around instruments. My dad is a musician, and so our conservatory has like guitars everywhere, pianos everywhere. So inevitably, I went in there, and next thing I know, I'm singing. And then it came to the point where I wanted to start making my own music.
Yeah,
And now, and then my dad, obviously, he's navigated me through the industry,
fantastic.
and now I'm recording my own songs, songwriting whenever I can.
That's really inspirational. So, how much have you released, and have you got stuff coming up at the moment? So, tell us a little bit more about what you're doing now and kind of what you're releasing.
Well, as I said, I've released around 8 singles. At the moment, I'm working on an EP that is coming in September. It's called Paradolia. Very excited for that.
Wow.
Um, and like I said, my single Bleed will be coming out near the beginning of September, so soon enough, which is really, really exciting. And I've got a few gigs coming up. I'm performing at Surrey Pride on the 9th of September, as well as the Hazelmere Food Festival and at the Songwriters Gallery in London at the Hanger Farm Arts Music Centre.
I have to pass by and come and see that one then, because I'm in London, so that'd be great. Yeah, that'd be
Oh
really.
gosh, that would be lovely.
We can share some of that in the description as well below. So yeah, I
Yes.
will put that all in there. What challenges and barriers would you say that you've kind of faced working in the music and entertainment industry?
I'd have to say that I've got an amazing team. I've got a brilliant team who have always kind of directed me through the music industry and shielded me from things that could be less than savory. I believe truly that the music industry at its heart is just a lovely place to share music and such. However, I know that as a young female Asian artist, there are, some boundaries that I probably will go through in the future. But
Yeah,
as I said right now, um, the amount of support and just kind of people around me always, motivating me and inspiring me to do what I do.
that's
I
beautiful.
feel like challenges that I could come across are like kind of, they're not as present as they probably might be in the future. But
Yeah.
at the moment, I'm good.
And what do you think about kind of representation and seeing your community? Do you think that there's enough of that? Do you think we need to see more of that? And do you think there's an understanding of kind of the issues and barriers that your community face?
I believe that representation is one of the most important things, especially in the music industry, but in like all industries in general.
Yeah,
Um, because it's what we see on a day-to-day basis when it comes to our music.
exactly.
I believe there's so many diverse genres, there's so many people in the music industry, but there's not enough recognition for maybe smaller artists or people who maybe have a different kind of sound. I have to say that representation, especially in my field, I mean, I want to be, as a Pakistani singer, I want my face to be shown as much as possible, as well as other cultures and brands who have different types of music.
Yeah.
So definitely, I think
And
representation
it
is important.
inspires others as well, doesn't it? It's like when you can see yourself somewhere, you believe that you can be part of that too, right? So I think that's
Yeah,
also
definitely.
kind of inspirational for your own community to see. So thanks for
Mm.
sharing with us. That's beautiful. And kind of how's that impacted your career and the way you feel? Like, has that had an impact on you?
Definitely. I think from my day-to-day life, I use music as an outlet. So anything that I experience, Anything that I feel is, overly emotional for me, I tend to write it down, whether it's just words on my notes app to then later on develop songs. So since, I'm living, I'm growing, I'm learning to be human, as a person, I'm evolutionizing. It's definitely shown in my music. I've
Yeah.
started doing songs with more deeper messages. I've started looking at each product and not product project
Yeah.
as a reflection of me. So definitely it shows in under my name that what I'm going through at the moment.
Yeah, because it's kind of shaped by your experiences and what and how you see the world and you relate to the world, right? So yeah, I
Mm.
totally agree with you on that. And that's really interesting because as we kind of evolve and we go through different things, I think that always has an impact on the music that we make and what we
Yeah.
write about. So yeah, that sounds really, really interesting. And I can't wait for your EP to come out. So
Oh,
tell us a
thank
little
you.
bit more about that. How many tracks is that going to have on it? And is there a mixture of different songs? Like, tell us a bit more about that because that sounds super interesting.
Well, the EP that I'm working on the moment, it has around 6, 7 tracks.
Yeah.
One being Bleed, as well as some lyric videos that will be coming out alongside the EP. One called WYN,
Yeah.
and one called. Wait, let me think about this one.
Take the time.
One called Hanging by a Thread. That song, Hanging by a Thread, is ridiculously raw and vulnerable. But this EP in itself, I think because I've always been releasing singles, it is quite important to me because it's a collective piece of myself.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for it to come out. It reminds me of why I got into the music industry in the first place, and that is for people to relate, to spread joy, to connect. So I think with this first EP, it's showing me in quite a vulnerable state with my songs, especially since some of the singing styles that I've chosen are some might be unorthodox, some are will be brilliant live, but some are more artistic. So I'm very excited for everyone to hear it.
It's really nice to have a diverse mix of material to work with as well. I think that's a nice way of showcasing yourself. So good luck with that. And
Thank
what's
you.
the kind of career path? What are you hoping to do next? And where are you at with that and all your stuff that you're doing?
Right now, currently, all I'm doing is writing, recording, and then if it's something that I feel ridiculously passionate about and feel like people need to see this, it's music video, talk to the team, do the mood boards.
Oh,
Um, I'm just constantly writing. That's all I'm like. That's all I can do when it comes to the music industry, as well as singing and all that. But I have to say that I'm working on I'm working on finishing the EP so that it comes out end of September. Very excited for that. And just kind of developing myself as an artist, refining my craft.
yeah.
I'm excited to do more live shows, like I mentioned the ones before. And I think in the next 2 years, I definitely want to be doing more touring. I want to have more release by then, obviously, because I just cannot contain myself.
Yes.
Um, and definitely more festivals. I'm really excited to, start going global since my stuff is played in radios that are global. Just
Okay.
kind of really reach out.
Well, congratulations and fingers crossed for all of that to come. And I'm sure you will be doing just fine. And tell us kind of what you kind of think of the equality and diversity as well in the music industry and kind of outlets. Do you think they support? Do you get a lot of good support with the music that you're releasing? And how do you think that is as well? Like when you look at it?
When I really look at it, I think there's a lot of diversity, and I love that there's a lot of diversity. But I feel, like I said earlier, that it's that actual diversity, maybe the stranger sounds, the abstract sounds
Yeah,
aren't being pushed enough as much. I
yeah,
believe there is a sense of equality in the music industry, and I feel very equal to the artists in the industry, especially being a young artist. But I think at the end of the day, we always want new talent. I feel like people are always wanting to hear new messages, new people,
yeah,
and while we have the mainstream pop, and which is as good as it can be, it's always, for me personally, I draw my inspiration from loads of different artists, and one could say underground, but just other artists in general. it's
yeah.
it's it's fun to really like see all the different people with their different, because they've been influenced by what's going on in their lives as well, and it all becomes this like kind of community. And I want that community to be expressed more in the sense that we want new people, new faces, just at least the opportunity.
And unheard voices as well, I think is really important because sometimes we always hear the same voices from the same people. So it's nice to have that different diverse range of voices, especially our unheard voices, like you said. So yeah, I really do appreciate what you say and what you do. And I think, you know, you're kind of offering so much representation, visibility, education. You know, I think that's really beautiful, and as well as creating and being you. So please keep that up and the amazing work you're doing, because it sounds fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, it's an absolute pleasure. So do you think kind of there's a problem with cultural and age differences in the industry? So when we're looking at equality and diversity, would you say that, say, certain groups or certain ages might be a little bit more, I don't know, harder to get their head around it?
I think personally in the music industry, there has been this kind of age boundary set between people that you can see. I mean, there are the greats, which you will support till they keep going and keep going. But I think because there are the greats and stuff like that, younger people like me, while we can release music, there's obviously this, not the struggle, but the difference in representation, as in, like, it's hard to explain. Let me think. I feel like younger people nowadays, because there is the difference in genres with people who are popping upcoming right now, so people more in like the teenage slash mid age, I can't really explain this right, like 20s. That's great, but I have yet to see large representation from artists who are either older than the normal age gap or younger than the normal age gap, if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. I totally get where you're coming from. So what you're saying is you're generally getting the same group of people in that age group that are doing it, not much people from older or younger than that. So yeah.
Yes, definitely. I think there should be more representation for people outside the normal age gap that we usually listen to. Like, you don't have to wait to be a certain age to start having your music be represented more.
That's so true. That's so true. And I totally agree with you on that as well. I think we need to see more of that too. And that would be nice. So what would you like to see improved then in the next couple of years? What are your main things, or things that you most feel beneficial to see?
I have to say, definitely keep the diversity. Definitely promote new genres, because that we never know what's coming around the corner. We never know what we might fall in love with. The main message I'd like to say is just keep the spirit from creating new music high as well, because I feel like sometimes in the music industry people get put off because they feel like their music won't be represented as much. Because for me, music isn't about getting famous. Music is about spreading your message and allowing music to be kind of like a safe space. I think continue musicians being able to use music as something dear to them instead of worrying about representation, but also in a sense get more representation overall in general.
100%. I agree with that too. Thank you. And does being in the music industry kind of affect your kind of mental well-being and your mental health? Would you say there's been at times where it's had an impact on that?
My messages change all the time due to the state I'm in, but at this point in time, I can reflect on what I've done so far in the music industry and kind of predict what I'm going to keep doing. That music will always be something that's very, very dear to my heart. And whether it gets to a point where I'm like emotional over what I release, because I hold my music ridiculously dear to my heart. I think that it was something so important. I want my message to always shine through, and I believe that through enough hard work and dedication, I will be able to do that. And so that leaves me at peace. It doesn't make me feel anxious. It makes me feel that I'm doing something not just for myself, but for the people who listen, for the people who appreciate it, for the people who message me back saying, like, I completely resonate with your song in this, that, and the other, which I love. I love it when people interpret my songs in their own way. But I think as long as I'm doing music, I'll be okay.
Brilliant. And that's amazing. And how kind of nice that is as well, that people can relate to stuff in their own unique ways. And, I really like that as well, because it's really about relatability, isn't it? It's about that personal message that other people can relate to. And I think that's a really important point you make. And it's interpreting that in your own personal way, which makes it lovely. And you're supporting people at the same time, right? So do you find music is a release for you? Like, is that what you're saying? Like, it's kind of your release of what your experiences are.
Someone once told me that art isn't meant to be beautiful. Art is something that makes you feel things.
Yeah,
And I think that applies with music
yeah,
completely.
I do.
So I love it when people can take bits out of my music and, you know, let it integrate into their lives. So, as an over, sorry, this is a very emotional topic. um, so yeah, I definitely feel that music in general is just, I think it's a beautiful thing, and to be involved in that is just beautiful as well.
Yeah, thank you for that. There's no right or wrong answers, and I really like that too. So thanks. And have you ever just been suffering? Have you suffered from discrimination or stigma as well? Like obviously being an Asian artist and there not being as many. Do you find that that still exists?
You know what? I don't, I'll be so honest, I don't. I feel like as I progress in the music industry, I'm getting more and more confident with my sound, and I think my face just being shown more and more, with the tiny victories that I've had that I appreciate all the time, it
Yeah,
just motivates me to keep going. So I haven't experienced any, direct stigma or discrimination,
good.
and which is incredible, really. I think that me being not different but unique, let's say, um, is empowering, not just to me, but to everyone who listens and such.
I think that's an amazing answer. So thank you. And kind of what kind of major successes and wins to date have you had? And obviously you've already mentioned your up and coming projects and any
Hmm.
more releases coming up.
Yeah. I have to say that some successes that I really, really, you know, enjoyed were I got my song Water Run Dry played on BBC Radio 1. That was incredible. Hearing it in the car, just
Yeah.
you being like, oh my God,
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, that's
like,
beautiful.
yeah, that was incredible. That was like, oh my gosh, defining moment. Um, I performed at this massive Westfield gig. I think it was to support London artists, and it was incredible. I had an amazing time. It was so like official. Like I did a few interviews for it. It was so fun. The whole experience. And I did Pride at Luton, which
Okay.
was incredible. I loved it. There was a massive crowd, massive support. It felt like one of those warming gigs where
Nice.
like the air is just so hmm, electric. Like I felt elated. I was, in it. I was feeling every moment.
Oh,
Um, and that makes me more excited to performing Surrey Pride. See how that turns out as well. But yeah.
yeah. Fingers crossed, and I'm sure you'll do amazing as you always do. And if people want to follow you or find your music, how would they do that?
Well, I am on Instagram as sophia.anisa.galani, on Instagram. I am on TikTok as Sofia Gillani _music, but I am also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as Sofia Gillani, and my music as Sofia Gillani is on all music streaming platforms.
Fantastic, thank you. And we'll put all of that in the description below so people can follow you, find your music, and obviously we'll put down your links for your projects that are coming up too. So thank you so much for your time today. I know you're busy, so I really appreciate you. I appreciate all of your comments and sharing your lovely journey with us. And I just want to wish you all the best with your up and coming EP that's coming out too. Sounds
Thank
great.
you so much. I'm so excited. You'll get the exclusive hint, hint.
Oh,
um, but yes, very excited for you to hear it. Thank you so much for your support. This has been lovely.
oh, it's a pleasure anytime. And yeah, let's definitely keep in touch and keep up the amazing work, Sophia. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.